Hi, welcome to High Road to You. I want to tell you a story that I hope will inspire or encourage you to kind of address some things that might seem a little bit overwhelming or too big of a challenge to kind of take on. And I have a story about this gal who was telling me that her daughter was dropping off her granddaughter, her first granddaughter, and she knew that her daughter was having an affair on her husband. And she says, I love my son-in-law. He is amazing. And I'm trying to convey to my daughter that, this isn't right. And I'm, guilty by association because she knew what was happening. And, I heard what she was saying, and I said to her, I said, the lesson is not so much for your daughter, but for you. And she goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, you're contributing, to this behavior that, it's not going to get better if you just ignore it, right? You don't ignore, you don't deny it, and you're not blaming. You're just seeing it for what it is. And to be accountable, you're saying, I'm not going to watch your daughter while you go on this affair and with this other person, and it's going to destroy your family. And so ultimately, I said, the lesson is more for you than it is for your daughter. And she's like, well, if I don't watch my daughter, my daughter's telling me it's none of your business, and, I'm going to do this anyway. So I don't know what other resources that her daughter had for her daughter, her granddaughter to be watched by somebody else. But obviously she was entrusting her mom. And I would personally set a boundary to say that I will no longer watch my granddaughter if you're going to continue this behavior. And I love my son-in-law so much that I have to confront you, and either you tell him or I won't. I would give my daughter and my son 24 hours to come clean and to work through the counseling process or whatever needs to happen in that regard. And that's what I would do. And a lot of people just want to look the other way, and I would say that that's the worst thing you want to do. And I think more than anything else is that the lesson is always ours. When things come at us and it disrupts our life, that's your calling. That's your calling. The lesson is for you. Morgan Freeman said once, he goes, I didn't leave a relationship to teach them a lesson. I left a relationship because I learned mine. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. And I know that's hard to convey to somebody that says, oh, this is family. This is my granddaughter. This is my, my son or my daughter, or whatever the case may be. And I remember picking up my daughter from my mom, who I knew was an alcoholic. And we grew up, many times experiences with, driving while intoxicated. And back then there was no seatbelts, and she'd sideswipe cars and just keep going. And I remember picking up my daughter. My wife and I at the time were starting a new business, and I went to go pick up my daughter, and she's probably around 2, and my mom was staggering, coming out to meet with me, and it seemed like she was going to fall. So I grabbed my daughter out of her arms, and then I noticed the car seat in the back seat of the car, and I said, please tell me you haven't driven with Jessica. And she says, no, I haven't driven with Jessica. And I put my hand on the hood of the car, and it was warm. I knew that she had. And so I said, you'll never see your granddaughter without supervision, because it wouldn't be your fault. It would be mine, because I knew better. So that's really what it comes down to. The bottom line is that you have to know better. You have to understand the situation for what it is, because it is your fault to a much larger extent, especially as a parent or as the elder. My daughter wanted to drive when she turned 16. I said, over my dead body. And, we lived in an area that was, fatality zone. It was called Blood Alley, the most dangerous stretch of freeway in all of California, I believe. And she was furious, didn't talk to me for a year and a half. And I said, there's 1,000 reasons why you should drive. You're the perfect student. You're the perfect child on so many levels. I said, but if something happened, it'd be my fault because I knew better. And she went on, at 18 to get her license and had 3 rear-end accidents, many speeding tickets, and she was out of control. She did have a permit, and it concerned me how her driving style, and I just knew that she wasn't ready to get behind the wheel at age 16, especially in our area. So that's my point. I'm trying to drive home that it is your responsibility in these situations when there's disruption like this, and you have to be accountable to yourself. You don't ignore, you don't deny, you don't blame. You're accountable, and that's where growth happens. With that, I hope this message finds you well.